What's going on, everybody? Brenden Schaeffer back here with another fantasy football mock draft video. As we continue to get set for the fantasy football season, hit subscribe on this channel and like on this video if you enjoy the content that we're putting out as we continue to grow this brand new channel. Have appreciated all the support so far. Once again, hit subscribe if you like fantasy football content. I'm trying to go through my comments recently and do the requests that many people have put out, and I saw there was one that was for a full PPR 12-team league, but from the 6th spot. We've been doing a lot from the number 1 position in various drafts. We've done it from the turn in 12-team leagues on recent videos, but not a lot from the 1.6, and so we're going to run a quick one here. Going to try to get these rolled out a little bit more quickly. A lot of the videos have been going about 20 minutes. Let me know for you guys what's the perfect length for these mock draft videos, because maybe if I do some shorter ones, you can still get the information, but ultimately I can maybe do a couple more videos throughout the week. But we're going to go ahead and get right in here to the number 1.6 draft position, and impossibly, Ja'Marr Chase has fallen to me. I am going to do something in Sleeper that they allow you to do, and I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it to Ja'Marr Chase because I just don't think that he's going to fall to the 1.6. If it happens, guys, go ahead and pick him. Like, just take Ja'Marr Chase at the 6th spot if he's there, okay? That's the fantasy football advice that you come here for, I know. But I don't want to set that up and then set up some unrealistic expectations when in reality, Chase is probably going within the first 3 picks. For me, it's Jefferson, Chase, McCaffrey. The top 3 could go in any order, but those really should be the 3 players that are taken. Travis Kelce going as early as 4 makes a lot of sense to me, especially in a full PPR with the advantage that he brings at tight end. But otherwise, I just should not be allowed to draft Ja'Marr Chase at the 6, so I won't. But again, if he's there in your draft, please, dear God, take him. I'm not going to allow myself to do that, but what I am going to do is take Tyreek Hill, the guy that would have been here in the 5 spot if I hadn't changed it. Full PPR, Tyreek Hill talking a lot this offseason about wanting to break the receiving record and all these things. Is he actually going to do that? Probably not. But I do think this is kind of the last elite prime year from Tyreek Hill as he kind of begins to maybe age out of that range. I want to check out his player card. He's 29 years old. So I don't have any age-related concerns about him slowing down this year, and the Dolphins certainly are going to be hungry to make it happen. So I like Tyreek Hill. If you're drafting from the middle of the round, I have no problem doing that. 3rd wide receiver off the board. Cooper Kupp, definitely a consideration for me in that same spot. In a longer video, I might try to describe the decision-making process, but honestly, between those two, it just depends on the day for me. We're here at the 2.7, though, looking to make another pick. A long run on wide receivers was made, so no Amon-Ra St. Brown coming back. A lot of people who watch my videos know that's my guy. But we do have our pick of some pretty good running backs. Anything at wide receiver standing out? No, not really. I think Garrett Wilson would be the last name that I would hope to see in this spot of the draft, but I'm going to confidently take Tony Pollard just because with Jonathan Taylor, I'm still not entirely sure whether he's going to end up traded, whether he stays on the Colts, whether he reports to the Colts if he doesn't get dealt. Tony Pollard, I feel very good about in the middle of the 2nd round, so we're going to split things up with Tyreek Hill at wide receiver, and then we'll go Pollard at number 2. We see Mark Andrews go off at the 212. I mentioned it in every video. If you're at that 2-3 turn, take Mark Andrews, especially in a full PPR. I think the gap between him and Kelce is smaller than the round value is going to indicate, and the gap between Andrews and the next tight end taken is going to be large, and it should be because Andrews is a complete value at where he's going in drafts. Had 300 PPR points in 2021. Last year, some injuries between him and Lamar Jackson took that off the board, but I think he can have another great season under the new OC in Baltimore. Okay, so we're here with Pollard, and we're here with Tyreek Hill. Running backs still available, Ramondre Stevenson, Jahmyr Gibbs. Those are the 2 that we'd be looking at this point in the round. ETN would have been a consideration if he made it to us, but he did not. Interesting. I think we like to have the idea of Keenan Allen on our roster, but I don't know if he's going to get back to us. But we are going to take Jahmyr Gibbs here because we know that we want a piece of that Lions offense, and we didn't get Amon-Ra St. Brown in this draft. So let's see the way the rest of the round unfolds, play the ADP game, and lose it with Keenan Allen. He's somebody that in a full PPR we are certainly interested in. But we're okay with where we are right now with Pollard and Gibbs. Interesting, 2 pass-catching running backs, but we know that Pollard is going to get a lot of work in that Dallas offense. They really don't have a stable RB2 necessarily there. I'm kind of eyeing Deuce Vaughn, actually, as a guy that could pick up some snaps in relief of Tony Pollard in the Dallas Cowboy offense. But we like Jahmyr Gibbs for his pass-catching chops as well, so we'll take him there. The wide receivers that go off, Ridley and Keenan Allen, we're a little bit sad that neither of those guys made it to us in the mid-4th. but that's just the way of the world right now. But we do have some good options, and one in particular that I'm enjoying is DJ Moore at this valuation, and we could also go Justin Fields if we wanted to, go early on the QB situation. Aaron Jones, by the way, is a tremendous value this late. I'm almost wishing I had taken Keenan Allen or somebody in the third round because I would hit Aaron Jones here, but he'd be my third running back if I did it. We're going to go with DJ Moore. We don't think Justin Fields is going to get back to us. Maybe if we were dead set on trying to stack those two, we would have done it the other way as Fields goes 5.1. DJ Moore might have made it back to us, but the other wide receiver that we were eyeing in round 4 at the 4.7 did get back to us, and that's Christian Watson. You've seen me draft him a lot. I like the idea of a step forward for this player. Listen, even as a rookie last year, he showed out in a lot of ways. We're looking at the game log from right here. The early weeks of the season didn't really do anything, didn't burst onto the scene, had some injuries that limited him as well in the middle of the year. But once he caught fire, boy, howdy did he ever. And in PPR, am I looking at the right thing here? This doesn't even seem right. Yeah, something's going on with the sleeper stuff. The projection is what I'm looking at. I don't even know what I'm looking at right now from sleeper, so apologies for that. Here we go. Yeah, the PPR numbers right here, 32, 21, 21, 24, and then had 8, 10, only 2, but then 16. I mean, over the latter half of the season, Christian Watson was fantastic. I talked about him for long enough. I damn well better take him because he was the guy that we were excited to see fall there and become our wide receiver 3, a guy that we can throw in the flex spot and feel like there's a lot of upside there. And again, I like volatility in my flex, and in this league, it's pretty shallow. It's a 12-teamer. So deeper than the 10-team leagues that you'd see around town. But the fact that we've only got 1 flex and 2 wide receivers, you're going to have some really good options off of your bench. And so if that offense in Green Bay doesn't move forward the way we hope to see it, we can put Christian Watson on our bench on a given week. It's not going to kill us. Let's go ahead and take a look here. We did miss out on the last of the elite tier at quarterback. Trevor Lawrence would have been the last. If I don't get Trevor Lawrence, I'm willing to wait a couple more rounds. That could take us out of play for Dak Prescott. I may come around to where I decide that, especially in a 6-point passing touchdown league, I'm into Dak Prescott because I think when the Cowboys get in the red zone, no offense to Tony Pollard, but he wasn't a goal line back last year. I think the Cowboys might throw for most of their touchdowns. They don't have Zeke Elliott anymore to run the ball in. So just something to keep in mind there. But we got a couple of running backs we feel good about. We're in full PPR. We think we can play the ADP game with the Javonte Williams, David Montgomery, James Cook tier. So we're going to go Ayuk or Lockett here, and we're going to lock it in for Tyler Lockett. I think he's a good value in the middle of the 6th round. I get that he's over the age of 30 now, but I do feel like Tyler Lockett has one really strong season left within him. Over the past 5 years, if you look at his PPR totals, I don't think he's had a year below the 220, 230 range. It's just been ultra consistency from Tyler Lockett. And with the injury to Jackson Smith-Njigba, the rookie out of Ohio State, I really think Tyler Lockett is going to just be settling into his regular role in that Seattle offense. We talked about Dak Prescott potentially would miss out on him. It happens as he gets sniped right before us. I don't think I was going to take him anyway, but just something to keep in mind when it comes to quarterback values. About a round difference between Lawrence and Prescott. Lawrence, I should say, and Dak Prescott. Honestly, I thought it would be a little bit more than that. Looking at where we sit now, we've got a 4 wide receiver, 2 running back setup. We mentioned hoping that the Javonte Williams, James Cook tier at running back would find its way back to us in the 7th. It certainly did with James Cook. So we're going to go ahead and hit the button on him and feel like we are a little more robust, a little more covered at the running back position if anything should happen to either of our 2 starters. I am happy to plug James Cook into a starting lineup day 1 in a 12-team league. And in this case, I don't think I'll have to. He'll be a nice option for us off the bench. Heading into the 8th round, we're at the 8.7 here. Interesting that we see Tua Tagovailoa at the top of our board at the quarterback position, and he's number 2 overall. So if we don't pick him now, we can go ahead and kiss him goodbye. Although, conventional wisdom with Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, and Dak Prescott, only Team 4 needs a quarterback. We might get away with it. We might get away with playing that ADP game. The reason I even bring up Tua is I have Tyreek Hill, and I think that would be a stack that in 6-point passing touchdown leagues, which I don't think this is by default on Sleeper, I'm not as in tune with needing to go get Tua. But if it were a 6-point league, I would be very strongly considering taking him right here with this pick. As it stands, with the 3 running backs that we have, I'm still happy to keep pounding wide receivers at this stage in the draft. Gabe Davis, Quentin Johnston would be considerations for me. But we're going to grab Jahan Dotson, a guy that I don't find myself drafting a ton of when I'm drafting from either side of the board at the 1.1 or the 1.12, either turn in various situations. I don't tend to find Jahan Dotson toward the top of my board, but there is a world in which Jahan Dotson is a really explosive player for the Commanders this year, especially if Sam Howell ends up turning into the kind of quarterback that Washington hopes he will be. So we're going to take him as just another elite upside option off of our bench. Usually we like to trend toward younger players with upside. The one case that we didn't do that here was Lockett. That's a personal favorite of mine, and I probably plug him into my flex over Christian Watson week 1 just to make sure that we know Jordan Love is as capable as we're hoping he'll be in 2023. But we like where we're at right now with this draft. We have definitely ignored the tight end position and have ignored the quarterback position so far. There's a high upside option at the top with Anthony Richardson, and at tight end, we're generally looking in this Dalton Kincaid, Chig Okonkwo tier. Tyler Higbee is not a bad floor piece as well. But of all the position groups, there's one player at the top of the board that I think is high upside, and that's Zay Flowers at wide receiver. He is our 6th wideout. We've only got 3 picks left, but I feel like that's absolutely a pick that I feel good about making. Listen, I'm very high on that offense in Baltimore. I think the passing offense is going to do things that we haven't seen it do, especially going back to last year when Lamar Jackson was dealing with injuries. But more than anything, I think the change to Todd Monken at offensive coordinator is going to make a huge difference for that team. So I'm really excited about the group that we have here at wide receiver, honestly, in a 12-team league. The beauty of drafting from the middle of the round is you're not really as, risky when it comes to the position runs that can take place. Yeah, you're going to have about 12 picks that go in between your next pick, but it's not going to be like 20 or 22 to where you run the risk of missing out on some serious talent. Zach Charbonnet would be the one running back that I want to draw people's attention to in this area of the draft. We chose to go with Flowers, and so we didn't get him. We're looking to definitely add one more running back at least before the end of this thing. I say at least. We've really only got the option to add one more with the bench spot situation that we have here. And I think now might be the time to do it unless we want to make sure to lock in Dalton Kincaid. And I think we do because he's got upside that I just don't think the other tight ends in this range are going to present. We did miss out pretty much on all the high-end quarterbacks, but you guys are going to love who I'm taking with the last pick in this draft at the quarterback position. Just stay tuned for that. I'll explain my thought process, and I'll just tell you right now, it's going to be a stack. So think about how I'm going to stack with one of the wide receivers that I picked up, because that's going to be exactly what I plan to do. I'll be going down the board a little bit for him, but he very well might be worth it. Tank Bigsby is the name that jumps out at me from the running back position. Once again, we've already got 6 wide receivers, so we feel like that's probably enough for a 12-team league with 5 bench spots and only 1 flex in our starting lineup. However, I just want to make sure people are aware that Sky Moore, potentially the wide receiver 1 for Patrick Mahomes, is just chilling down here in the 11th. That's a guy that I would normally be very interested in. And to be honest with you, if I had it to do over again, knowing what I know now, I'd probably take Zach Charbonnet in the 9th, and then I take Sky Moore in the 11th. Just getting that one last really running back spot solidified. However, Tank Bigsby is a completely solid option at running back. I think they're going to give him some run in Jacksonville. They just don't view ETN as a guy who's a workhorse back that's going to touch the ball 25 times a game. I think Tank Bigsby gets 10 to 12 touches per game, and the explosiveness that he possesses, he could do some things with those touches. Again, we're out of running back options. We're going to grab the quarterback with our last pick in this draft. Our general philosophy at quarterback when we wait till the very end, which I've been doing for years and years and years, and this is only a recent phenomenon that we're seeing quarterbacks really rise up the draft board this way. It used to be, I would say, okay, I'm never taking quarterbacks in these first 6 rounds or so. Now we see a lot of quarterbacks with rushing upside like Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, even perhaps a little bit Trevor Lawrence. Like, those guys are worth it. If you can get them at fair value in these early rounds, I'm not opposed to doing it this year. Justin Fields, fantastic. At the 4-5 turn, if I hadn't taken DJ Moore, I'd be sitting here going, DJ Moore, Justin Fields, lock it in. The upside is tremendous. But that's just not something that I think we see it as normal every year. Am I going to miss out on my guy? No, I'm going to click him at the buzzer. Sam Howell is my guy. Jared Goff would also be a very fine quarterback to take at the very end. Had I had Amon-Ra St. Brown, it would definitely be the tiebreaker for me to go with Jared Goff. But I've picked him in previous mock drafts, and I want to highlight Sam Howell a little bit because I think especially if you're in a super flex league, Sam Howell is a sneaky option for your QB2 spot. The other reason that I don't mind going Sam Howell when the regular season is coming up, and I'm basically admitting by drafting a quarterback in the 12th round and not before, that I'm going to be streaming the position more or less. Look at schedule when you're streaming. Sam Howell, week 1, Arizona, the human dumpster fire of a football team, and that's a home game for the Commanders. I think Sam Howell might take the league by surprise in week 1, which is not to say that he'll be a superstar the entire season, but I think he can have a very productive week 1 hosting maybe the worst team in the NFL as he tries to get his legs under him as the starter for the Commanders. I'm happy to put him in my lineup week 1. And for a little bit of fun, if I'm feeling frisky, I might even go ahead and flex Jahan Dotson because it would be enjoyable to have that stack in my lineup. And when I say flex, I would imagine Washington's playing the noon game that day since they're on the East Coast. Always put the last player that's in your lineup in your flex. If they play on Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football, that's your flex. Don't flex somebody who plays at noon. We'll talk more about that as we get into regular season content on the channel. So make sure you subscribe to this channel if you want to make sure you're caught up to date on all of that. But that's just my little quick caveat of when I say flex Jahan Dotson, I'll probably have somebody else in my actual flex spot if I have a wide receiver like DJ Moore or Tyreek Hill. I don't know when those games are actually played. I think the Bears are a 3:25 game that day. Nevertheless, I like the idea of maybe plugging Jahan Dotson in with Sam Howell into my lineup because it's a nice matchup. But other late-round quarterbacks, Jared Goff, worthwhile. Daniel Jones, certainly worthwhile. Anthony Richardson, if you really want to shoot for some upside. But we needed to get Dalton Kincaid at that point, who, again, Buffalo Bills, using him as a tight end and a wide receiver, potentially just going to be on the field all the time, catching passes from Josh Allen. I like Dalton Kincaid as a late-round upside tight end. I think people who have watched my videos have seen me take a ton of the rookie for Buffalo. Real quick, just want to mention before we get out of here, going over the last bit of this lineup. Tony Pollard, Jahmyr Gibbs, we feel good about the running backs that we picked up. Tyreek Hill, you could have gone Cooper Kupp here. The system tried to give us Jamar Chase, and we didn't let that happen. Feel pretty good about wide receiver, I think, honestly. But I feel even better about the bench wide receivers that I picked up. Because the goal when you wait till the very end to draft a quarterback is to trade into a quarterback and to trade into a tight end when we waited pretty long. And if Dalton Kincaid doesn't smash, those are the things that we're looking to do. Robust at running back and wide receiver. Like, this is just general philosophy that I'm talking right here. Robust at those positions to where you can trade, especially in PPR. There are going to be people who went early on tight end. They went early on quarterback. Like, let's look at Team 3 as an example. Kelsey Allen is fantastic. 2 great players. Where does that leave them at the wide receiver position? A little bit skeptical to have T. Higgins as your number 1 wide receiver. I think he's a great player to have if he's your wide receiver 3 or your flex. DeAndre Hopkins, what's he going to look like in Tennessee's offense? Is it going to be a Julio Jones redux? I think he's got more left in the tank than Julio did when he went to Tennessee, but you never do know. Mike Thomas, and then he's got rookie Quentin Johnson, who I like having, but I think they might need to have a guy like Quentin Johnson hit in order for this lineup to pan out. Like, they're not as strong as wide receiver, looking at the way Team 3 has played things out here. So that's kind of the way I look to trade up into positions where I'm like, listen, if, let's say, Hopkins busts, Ayuk is a fine flex, but he doesn't really take the target share needed in San Francisco to be a weekly wide receiver 2 or better. Mike Thomas does exactly what I think Mike Thomas is going to do and flames out. Like, I'm just not in on a player at his age with all the injuries that he's been through. Let's say Quentin Johnston is a really good talent, but takes some time to get acclimated to the league. I don't care about Jacoby Myers at all for fantasy. This guy's going to be needing some wide receivers, and so I say, all right, well, lucky for you, I've had Christian Watson pop on my bench. I know I can sell him Tyler Lockett because Lockett gets 15 points a week pretty much on command. Jahan Dotson might pop off. Zay Flowers might pop off. I'm probably going to be able to send that guy a couple wide receivers in whichever good quarterback I'm streaming at the time and saying, hey, man, what about Josh Allen? It's like, oh, no, I'm not trading Josh Allen. Okay, fine, I'll trade you DJ Moore because at the time I know I'll be able to do it, right? So I'm not saying that that's the trade that's going to be made. I'm just saying that's the way you want to think about it. Get really strong at wide receiver on your bench in PPR with guys that have upside that can be helpful to other people's lineups when they went heavily on running back early and they end up sustaining too many injuries to be able to do what they need to do. That's kind of the way I look at it. I mean, these first 7 rounds from this guy, Hopkins, fine pick, fine player, but it might be a year too late. Went heavily on quarterback and tight end. I hope it works out for him, but honestly, I don't. I hope he struggles with the depth at running back and wide receiver because, look, his 2 running backs are Miles Sanders and David Montgomery. It has nothing after that. So, all right, if my running backs pan out, suddenly I can offer him a James Cook or maybe even a Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Like I took Jahmyr Gibbs where? The middle of the third. If I'm trading Jahmyr Gibbs and getting Josh Allen out of it after I know that James Cook is good enough to hold up this running back 2 spot, that still improves my lineup for the long run. So find a way to take the risks that make sense is the way that I would describe it. But with this little caveat after the draft, I've ended up at 20 minutes once again. I'll try really hard. If you guys let me know and you start staying on me in the comments to just keep it to 10 to 12 to 15 minutes for these videos, I'll try to work on doing that. What's the sweet spot? Let me know in the comments what you guys like to see in terms of length for mock draft videos. And I've been taking requests. You have a 12-team league, 16, 14, 10-team. What's the league size? What's the pick that you want me to mock draft from? I'll continue to try and handle as many of those as I can as we move along. So appreciate you guys as always for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe and stick around for the next video as we'll continue pumping them out between now and the open of the NFL season just a couple of weeks away. Appreciate you guys as always, and we'll talk to you next time on the channel. Peace.